everyone. It's, of course, Rational Radicals every first and third, clocking much dollars on the first and 15th. Clocking much dollars on the first and 15th. Okay, third Wednesday. Happy Juneteenth, everyone. I know I've said some things I didn't have to say about Juneteenth. My opinion about Juneteenth is not shared with the community, But let me tell y'all something about Juneteenth. Happy Juneteenth. It is June 19th in the year of your Lord, 2024. Rational Radical Show. Very happy to be here. Just again, I'm in a hot box, so I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get through this. I once went to see my favorite rapper in the whole wide world, and it was at this venue, which I won't name, in Hyde Park, this music venue, and the acoustics, the sound, the engineering, everything is really, maybe they got it together. I haven't been there in a little while. My son goes there for concerts all the time, which makes me feel ashamed because I hate that there's two places that I kick it to that my son shows up at, which is lame as hell. And then one is that venue, which I don't want to name because I'm gonna say some disparaging things about it. And another was, there was a nice little wine boutique, wine cellar, also in Hyde Park. I don't live in Hyde Park. I can't afford to, but my son lives in Hyde Park. And so there was a wine tasting there. And then my wife told me about it, and we were going to go. And then my son was like, oh, yeah, I go to that sometime. So I'm like, I can't go there. There's this other place. But anyway, I went to see the dopest MC, living legend, Wise Intelligent, perform at this venue. And it was just really everything. Of course, the rhymes was tight, the beats, but everything else was messing up. So he looked back at his DJ. He looked out at the guy that sits out in the booth, and he was like, let's just get through this. So whenever I'm going through something, I just think of Wise Intelligence, professionalism, and endurance. And that's how I do. That's my motivation. I'm just get through this. But I'm in a hot box. I told y'all, go watch Monday night Bro Diallo show if you want to know my complaints and my status here in the hot box and my issues with being ecological and impoverished at the same time. But we're not going to revisit that. Happy Juneteenth for all you who observe it. To me, Juneteenth is kind of like the Malcolm X stamp. I think white folks play with us. Because Chuck D said, my heroes don't appear on stamp. And then they start putting heroes on stamps. They put Malcolm X on a stamp. And I think they do that shit on purpose, man. White folks, Del Jones said white folks are more dangerous at the negotiation table than they are on the battlefield. And I think y'all need to hold that quote as we discuss, as we proceed. The white man is more dangerous at the negotiating table than he is on the battlefield. Rest in peace, Del Jones. But anyway, to me, Juneteenth lost a lot of its soul, lost a lot of its relevance when it was made a national American holiday. That kind of bothers me. Now it's up there with Kwanzaa and Karinga Claus. It's up there with Mother's Day, hollowed out holidays. Hollowed out holidays. And I'm gonna just quote myself. I said something. I still have to stand by this until it's not true, but this is the truth about Juneteenth. Juneteenth is a holiday that celebrates slaves who didn't know they were free. Juneteenth is a holiday that is basically slaves who didn't know they were free being celebrated by free people who don't know they're slaves, because we're still enslaved. Dr. Bobby E. Wright said, when all of the resources and institutions necessary for your survival are under the control of another people, you are enslaved. And because chattel slavery as a particular form of slavery was so egregious, never before seen by Africans, never before endured and survived by Africans, that we don't recognize the other forms of enslavement. Because coming up out of chattel slavery, anything is better than that. We take anything. Hey, my number one fan, ain't seen you. Welcome. So anyway, I have issues with Juneteenth. My main issue with Juneteenth is that I don't think it's a day of celebration. Because you're not even celebrating emancipation. You're celebrating Africans who were denied their emancipation. So slavery came late to all. Freedom, emancipation came late. Should have never been necessary because we should have never been enslaved. But these Africans spent additional years in bondage and they found out they were free and they celebrated in that moment. But I think as African descendants of people who were endured chattel slavery and were denied reparations, denied 40 acres and a mule, had our humanity and our suffrage, our agency and our standing and status denied for so many decades after slavery, I think Juneteenth should be a day of outrage, should be a day of reflection, a day of meditation, a day of resistance, a day of uprising, any fucking thing but a day of celebration. All holidays aren't for celebrating, but under capitalism, they can commodify even bullshit. So not every holiday means put on a matching short set and some leather sandals and go cook something on the grill. Some days are meant to be days of somber reflection. Memorial Day, even Veterans Day, Labor Day. Labor Day was supposed to be a day of workers' uprising, recognizing the power of the working class in opposition to those who control the means of production. Labor Day was a pronouncement of class consciousness and class warfare. And now that's just, if you live in New York, live out there. It's a day to dance up and down the street and having our sisters twerking up on the fucking NYPD. So I have an issue with holidays. I have issues with a lot of holidays. Now, there's some holidays I think you should go off. Halloween, eat all the candy you can get your hands on. Free candy, dress up costume. Yeah, clown. Go off. Go off on Halloween. On Christmas, free toys. Now, I don't celebrate Christmas, but my whole family, the majority of my mama's side of the family is Christian. Majority of my daddy's side of the family is Muslim, so don't. But and my wife's people, they's all Christians. So my sons would get gifts from their relatives, and if an auntie, if a grandma want to wrap something up in colorful paper and give a toy to my son, go off. And I explained to them, there's this holiday, Christmas, and you know, grandma, aunties, they Christians and they want to celebrate this holiday. Go off. Even Easter. Rabbits and shit and more candy. And my mother-in-law was like, give me my grandbabies. I'm going to dress them up in little bow ties and take them out to brunch on Easter. Go on. So I don't think, because there's some revolutionaries, some conscious people that think that we should be ascetic. And I understand it. I'm not condemning that because I read Che Guevara. I read Revolutionary Strategy. I'm familiar with the ascetic, self-denial. Self-denial to develop the discipline for ongoing resistance, living a life of resistance. The revolutionary is a doomed man. Revolutionary suicide, I'm very familiar with that. So, and I understand that. I've even engaged in that. Self-denial, discipline, not being seduced by the trappings of capitalist society. I understand all of that. So some revolutionaries say, no, I don't smile or grin or do nothing, Nathan. I understand that. I understand black folks is like, yeah, I'm going to organize, I'm going to struggle, I'm going to fight, I'm going to study, but I'm going to have my fun. I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to make it rain up in the strip club. I understand that too, because I don't think this is a puritanical, Emma Goodman said, I won't join a revolution that won't allow me to dance. So there's different people that have different approaches. And whatever sustains you in the struggle, whatever motivates you in the struggle, whatever helps maintain your clarity and intellectual cultivation under the struggle, then that's the way you go. I don't think the ascetic, self-denial warrior monk or just saw a revolutionary smoking a cigar and drinking brown liquor in their free time. I think they're both absolutely right. As long as they working towards the same goal, what vehicle or what route you take to get to that same location, I tell you, it's all right with me. Neely Fuller said the only rule an oppressed person under white hegemony has to follow is do not compound the oppression of another oppressed person. Beyond that, do you, player? Now, I don't celebrate Juneteenth. Again, like I said, to me, Juneteenth is a day of denied freedom, of delayed justice. And so if it's a day to do, so on a day that commemorates denied or delayed emancipation, freedom, and justice, what is an appropriate set of activities to do on such a day? I don't think cooking out, dancing. Now, I understand our ancestors who were in bondage and they stepped out and they were like, hey, put down that hoe, put down that satchel, put down that tray, house Negro. I think for the house Negroes back then and now, they had to snatch the trays from there. Oh no, massa needs his tinctures. But for the field slave, I'm a field Negro, as Malcolm said, for the field Negroes, I understand them dancing in the street, just a release. But we as their descendants, shouldn't carry it the way they carry it. It should hit different. So erect a shrine in honor of your ancestors. Burn a candle in honor of your ancestors. Sit down with the youth and tell them about the plight and the struggle and what they had to do. Tell our youth about what our ancestors did so that they could get here, what they endured so they could get here, and then explain to them that obligates them. That obligates them. You have ancestors that would never see you, that would never know you, that would never touch you, that endured horrendous omnicidal conditions so that you could be here. And so you owe an obligation to those descendants that come after you who will never see, to both endure, struggle, and overcome for them. So it should be a day. That's what I think Juneteenth should be. So I don't like going to the celebrations. I mean, I think maybe we should organize, if it's a day of mourning, a day of highlighting the atrocities and horrors, a day of pointing out the denied and delayed justice of African people. But that's me. But Juneteenth is literally a holiday dealing with slaves who didn't know they were free, celebrated by free people who don't know they're enslaved. And I hate to bust bubbles. And let me tell you something else that is peculiar and scary to me. I see a lot of Negroes who didn't even acknowledge Juneteenth until Biden gave them permission to. Until that shit showed up on the federal holiday calendar. Now I can see corporations, I could even see white folks doing that, but black folks, if you wasn't doing it before Biden gave you permission, please don't do it now. Fall back. Give it some time. Anyway, I digress. Welcome to the Bro Diallo broadcast. I don't know about Skip Coon. Where he at, though? This could be on me. I don't know. I have to talk to Skip and see if I'm giving him enough leeway, because he is a busy man, and maybe I don't give enough respect and consideration to how busy he is. So, I don't know. In Mississippi, I don't know. He's down there still in the belly of the beast. Mississippi, goddamn. So I don't know if Skip is coming through tonight. But if not, I'll hold him down. And it's fun when you don't come through because then we just get to bootleg his music, right? So we're gonna bootleg his music if he don't come through. And I'll be in Mississippi for the first time in my life. I'll be in Jackson, Jafrica, celebrating Skip Coon's album release on Marcus Garvey's birthday. And I tell you, this hip hop album, man, if y'all don't make this album make it go ghetto platinum, underground phenom, if we don't push this album to the fore, we don't deserve such mastery and artistry of hip hop. Anyway, we'll leave Skip alone. If he come through, he's always blessings on blessings. But if not, I get to say greasy things I wouldn't say if Skip was here, because Skip is such a pious man. Anyway, speaking of race war, I know y'all know about that cracker in Arizona. What's his name? Mark Pre-wrote, who tried to start a race war. Yeah, we got yet another cracker who wants to go up and murder a bunch of black folks and thinking that's going to start a race war. And can I speak to any of the race war white nationalists? I don't like the term neo-Nazi. I really don't like the fucking term neo-Nazi. Because in fact, the very concept of neo-Nazi is a mastery and excellence of post-war propaganda. Because it would be more appropriate to call Hitler and the Nazis neo-Americans or neo-colonizers or neo-British. Because Hitler, the only reason Hitler is not on currency and doesn't have streets, the only reason why you can drive down Columbus Avenue, you can pull out money with Andrew Jackson's face on the thing. We have George Washington monuments. We have Rhodes Scholar named after Cecil Rhodes. The only reason Hitler's name ain't out there with them other crackers is because Hitler did internally what Europeans had been doing externally since the 1400s. Hitler turned white aggression in on itself. While the white nations that are credible and respectable engaged in genocidal campaigns in foreign lands and externally, Hitler in his Lebensraum, Hitler identified territories within Central, Western, and Eastern Europe. Hitler identified territories in white areas to engage in colonization, systematic extermination and colonization of lands. But he didn't go overseas. He didn't cross an ocean. He didn't cross a large body of water. And he didn't engage in those behavior towards people with melanated skin. If Hitler had done that, he would just be a footnote in history. We'd be protesting, asking the white man to take down the Hitler statues like we're having to ask them to take down the Confederate statues. General Lee statues. And Kanye, just like Kanye was putting out and these other Uncle Toms wearing Confederate flags, it'd be Negroes out here full of more than there are, because there are some swastika donning Negroes already. That's the only thing he did to separate him. That's the only thing that makes him special. Systematic genocide does not make him special. Claiming of lands and territories and displacing millions, ongoing war, blitzkrieg, all that shit. The United States was doing that shit long before Hitler was born. Great Britain, France was doing that shit. And can you imagine a country like France looking at another country like, oh, you've invaded my territory and you've taken my land and you've raided our artifacts. Hitler was literally stealing shit from the French that the French stole from Africa and the so-called New World, the Caribbean. Hitler did to France what France did to Haiti, Senegal, Vietnam. And we sitting here and have to use their point of view. So anyway, I don't like the term neo-Nazi because you could just say American, United States. Hitler, it is more accurate, historically accurate to call Hitler a neo-American than call a racist American neo-Nazis. Not only did the United States start genocide long before Hitler was born, United States is still engaged in ongoing genocide. I say this all the time. I went to a Congo-Palestine protest, and there was this activist from Oklahoma who they asked to give up and give a speech. Apparently, the white people at the protest knew who this guy was. He was a big uppity muckety muck amongst the white left, and bless the white left's heart. I got none Antifa, white leftists, white anarchists, white socialists, white anarcho-feminists, white communists. Bless your heart. Y'all the good white folks. Them some good white folks right there. But I didn't know who he was. But I was thinking to myself as he was up speaking about Congo and Palestine, I'm like, this dude, in order to get here, had to bypass at least half a dozen reservations. If he came from Oklahoma, if he came the route I usually come from, Missouri, he had to bypass at least a half a dozen active concentration camps. That's both the Native American reservations and the supermax prisons. He had to go through concentration camps. Dale Jones said, don't ever call them reservations. Reservations is what you get at a hotel. So you have to fly over genocides and bypass genocides to get to the most up-to-date genocide. But I digress. All I'm saying, I want to talk about this race war. They found this cracker in Arizona. His name is Mark. Mark, this old cracker. And let me stop saying that. And he was going to gun shows and he was recruiting other white folks, and the feds got wind of it. And so the feds sent in an informant. Was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do the race war. Yeah. So they got this dude to plot. And where was he going to go shoot up some venue? At a black concert. Where that at though? Where they at though? This is a paywall. He was going to go to Atlanta, Wakanda, according to T.I. He was going to go shoot up a concert. And let me tell you, all them black gangsters, all them black thuggers that been slaughtering black folks since NWA went platinum, wasn't going through. He wasn't worried about that and nothing. But anyway, I have something to say to all you white folks, all the white reactionaries, all the right racists, all the white folks who are afraid and want to preserve the white race. Let me tell you something. You stupid motherfuckers. You can't start a race war. And let me tell you why you can't start a race war. Because your ancestors not only started the race war, they executed the race war, they completed the race war, and they won. You're already at the victory. You're at the top of the mountain. The race war was fought, executed, and won. Europeans, white people, you can't start a race war because it's going. That's like me going out the house tomorrow and say, I want to start global warming. I'm going to go out and dig up some coal and I want to start polluting the world with plastic. Get a late pass. It's already happening. Do you understand me, white people? Stop fucking going up in our grocery stores, our churches, and trying to start a race war. It's already ongoing. That's like saying a white man waking up in California and say, hey, I think I want to colonize America today. It's already fucking colonized. It's already captured. You won. You've got the trophy. Now here's your problem, white boy. The problem is not that you'd want to start a race war. The problem is that you are not getting your share of the spoils of the war. So when the war is won, after the conquest is completed, the spoils are divided. And let me tell you something that always happens. Whenever there is a conflict, the spoils of war always go to the elites. The soldiers don't get shit. The nurses don't get shit. The people who do the logistics, transportation, y'all don't get shit in your wars. And I don't care if it's the global race war that has already been fought and completed and determined. I don't care if it's the global race war or the Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, the wars. You're a soldier. You're a peon. So your problem is not with black people. We ain't got shit else for you. There's nothing else you can take except our lives. We have no more territory that we control. We have no more resources that we control. We have no power in institutions. That's what we fighting against, that shit. If you really wanted a race war, white boy, I'm just talking to the white folks. Black folks, y'all can go have a seat. I'm not even talking to all white folks. I'm just talking to the white people who keep fucking with us and think they can start a war by fucking killing us. How many white people have gone on a slaughter, on a shooting spree, and there was no black race war? Because it is done. You can only go to war. If you go to war with a population, then you can, and you defeat that population, you get access to their resources, you get access to their land. We ain't got no motherfucking land. We ain't got no resources. Even if you went to Africa, you are going to end up fighting some European colonial or some Arab or Asian colonial power because they are the ones who control shit there. So you are just, it's a miscalculation. I ain't telling you to love me. I ain't telling you to be cool. I'm just telling you, you're doing the shit wrong. And if you really want a race war, you're like, hell, I missed out. I wasn't alive during the initiation of the war, and I was born after the completion of the war. Then what you would have to do is liberate black people. You should join the black liberation struggle, liberate African people, give reparations to African people, allow African people to retake the resources and lands that have been colonized, neo-colonized, and denied us, right? So allow us to build up, allow us to reassert African power, and then and only then can you initiate a new race war. That's it. Because what you're doing is going into the war camp. What you're doing is international war crime. So you're not engaged in a war, just like Israel is not at war with Palestine. Israel is Palestine. Those are lies. What you're engaged in is mass slaughter, mass murder. You are not a triumphant hero of your race. You are not a champion. You are not saving yourselves because African people are not a threat to white people. White people are an ongoing threat to African people and every other living thing and living individual and living system. Animal, plant, human beings. So for the people who don't yet accept that we're animals too. You stupid motherfuckers. But here's another thing if you want a race war. Your real issue is, because you're a white man, you're like, I'm a white man. I am in God's image. You feel like you should have more money, more power, more security, more women, more babies, whatever you think you should have more of as a white man that you don't have access to. It is the white elites. So you should not be, you have to do what the communists did, what the the Jacobins did. You have to do what the nationalists did when they cut off the head of the monarchs. The monarchy is the one taking shit. The modern monarchs are multinational corporations, institutional investors, the white billionaires. That's who you have to go after for your spoils, for your cut of white conquest. White conquest is done and completed. It's over. Right now, the global empire is in maintenance mode. It's maintaining. And in this stage of imperialism, they actually start to integrate victims of their imperialism. So when you see a black woman as vice president, or a black man CEO, or a black NBA coach going to the championship, that is not evidence of black power. That is actually evidence of the security of the white power. Black people elevating within your institutions is not black people taking control of your institutions. Those are two different things. So white man, leave us the fuck alone. You only have two options. Hey, my grandbaby's watching. I have to stop cussing. Damn it. I have to stop cussing. My grandbaby's watching. Anyway, what you have to do, and I'm trying to help you. I want the white masses and the white working classes to get what they do. I am as class conscious. I race first. So it's race first. But after race, we still got class and ideology. So individual working class, stupid ass, white man, you're not going to gain anything but a trip to a supermax prison. You Christian terrorist. If you really want to get your name in the history book, if you really want to be a significant historical figure in your race and fight a champion of your people, fucking move on Jeff Bezos. Move on Elon Musk. Do you understand me? Biden, Trump, you got a fucking list. I can compile a list. Just don't put my name on it. But fucking with us will get you nothing. I promise you. And I know you look at the white media and they showing you gangsters and black people on crime spree. That's propaganda. They're lying to you. Black people running up in CVS and snatching makeup is not your problem. It is the commodities traders who have already, you live in rural white America and you growing corn. You live in rural white America and you work in a mill or your mill got closed down. That is not black people snatching purses on the subway. That is international trade. That's international sovereign wealth that's got your shit fucked up. Oh, I'm sorry. I got a copy. I write my grandbaby watching. My son just told me. But I mean, I had to tell, like I told Ajama, who told me I was too articulate to have such a profane mode of speaking. How do you use proper language to talk about insanity? How do you describe FUBAR conditions without using the F word? I'm not as articulate as I believe I am. Anyway, that's all I'm saying. I should be a white racist consultant. I'm going to start a white racist consulting firm. So, because I know y'all love to collect weapons. I know y'all love to prep. I know y'all all got bunkers and you're ready for the apocalypse. But let me tell you, if you are a white racist right now who wants to take up arms for a cause of your right race, you were born too late to participate in the race war. But guess what? That's fine, because you were born in the perfect time to participate in the class war. And I promise you this, even if you're going to take out, if you want black people to take up arms, if you're like, I don't even care, fuck the facts, forget the facts, I just want, to take aim at black people. Let me tell you something. And I don't want black people, go check on your barbecue. Go check on your animal carcasses on the grill. Let me just talk to the white racists that are listening. Take out the black elites. Take out the black billionaires, the black bourgeoisie. Because if you want black people to really, because you're just taking out poor and working class black folks, nobody cares about them, including other poor and working class black people. It got to be a celebrity. Go get Kanye. And you can trick Kanye, because you can tell Kanye will show up. You tell Kanye, hey, we're having a neo-Nazi, because he loves Hitler. Say we're having a Heil Hitler rally, or tell him we're going to have a cross burning. Kanye will show up. You ain't even got to hunt Kanye down. Kanye hates himself and black people so much, you can lure him. You don't even have to lure him out. Just tell Kanye, hey, we're going to lynch a colored boy, and Kanye will come and pay. He will cater the event. He will perform at the event. And then you turn to him and tell him, hey, you're the one, though. But he'll be like, I'm special. Giles, I'm special. Like, nah, you're the one. Do that, and then I promise you, rank and file black people will take up arms. But it still wouldn't be a race war. It would simply be a riot. Not even a rebellion or an uprising. It's a simple run-of-the-mill riot. You'll get your rocks off. It won't really change the fundamental relationship or class status. That's all I'm saying. So, come to the Bro Diallo white racist consultation firm, and I will tell you how to carry out your white nationalist murder fantasies in a proper way. I will get you in the history books. You're still going to go to jail. You're still going to be on feds. But if you want to engage in Christian nationalist violence, I will tell you how to do it and not look like a fucking dumbass. That's all. I'm not saying you wouldn't be a dumbass. You just won't look as stupid. You'll at least look. So holla at your boy. DM me. My rates are very affordable. Anyway, what am I talking about? I'm here helping white folks. I got to help black folks. Okay, this is going to be another quick show. I didn't get a chance to get to the Q&A, so I'm just going to go over this real fast. Okay, so I'm going to talk about why we lose. And when I say why we lose, I'm speaking specifically in the context of black struggles, black uprising, black interests, black goals. Why do we lose? And we don't deserve to win. Now, I'm just going to deal with the last part first because it's very simple. Black people don't deserve to win is because we don't have true liberation as our goal. So we don't deserve to win. That means that if Black people accomplish most of the goals, most of the Black leaders, Black institutions, most of the Black struggles and objectives that we have before us, if we were to achieve them, there would be no fundamental change in the social relationships that govern the planet. The unjust hierarchies and unjust institutions would remain. If most of the Black organizations, that even the ones we think are militant, even the ones we think are for Black power or Black liberation, many of these Black leaders, many of these Black organizations, and many of these Black goals and objectives would not fundamentally change the trajectory that the planet is on. Many of the most oppressive, degenerate, illegitimate institutions would still survive. Borders, colonial borders, and global borders that were set up through colonial genocide, capitalism, ecocide, destruction of the global ecosystem. The internal intimate hierarchy is how it ends at the intimately oppressed relationships between men and women and the disabled. So most other people who have compounding oppression would still remain under those oppression if the majority of these so-called Black freedom fighters got everything they wanted, everything at the top of their wish list. So if there's no fundamental change in humans' hierarchies and humans' interpersonal relationship, it's just Black people having more shit. Black people enjoying more of the spoils of conquest. We even have Black supremacists out here and Black supremacist movement, Black nationalist movement. If there's no fundamental change, what fucking difference does it make? Because now we've seen with our own goddamn eyes, African heads of states preserve and entrench colonial relationships and facilitate the hyper-exploitation of Africa's resources. Look at Rwanda in its relationship to the Congo. Look at the nations of the Sahel regions and all the other nations carrying out sanctions against African nations that are seeking to end the neo-colonial relationships they have with the former imperialist power. And African nations are threatened. They got Kenyan soldiers going to Haiti to engage in colonial repression. So you as a human being, you're driving your car as an African man or woman, and you get pulled over, and you look out your rear view, and it's a Black cop. Do you really think it is better if that Black cop's boot is on your neck than a white cop's boot? Because that's the situation we find ourselves in. Do you think Black billionaires exploiting the ecosystems and exploiting our labor is better? As Jay-Z said, 2 Black billionaires is better than 1. If that is the case, and that is your understanding, not only will you not win, you don't deserve to win. See, in my mind, I thought you don't fucking deserve to win, but I just said you don't deserve to win. We have seen that African people and descendants of African people on the African continent and among the African diaspora have the capacity to sustain and entrench the systems and institutions of global white domination and capitalism. We've lived through it. This is not speculation. This is not theoretical. We're living through it. And I don't care where they entered, private industry or state. We saw Obama engage in international war crimes in Africa. Is this what Chairman Fred Hampton, Malcolm X died for, were murdered for? Is this why Dr. King caught a bullet in his neck? For Obama to engage in international war crimes, and he's still a hero amongst our people? He comes to town to clog up traffic, and we still got Black people. I just want to touch the hem of Obama's garment. Still see him as a positive role model and a savior. I go to a predominantly Black suburb to visit with my in-laws, and I see a predominantly Black school named after Colin Powell, another war criminal, a literal rabid attack dog for European imperialism, a man who helped cover up and justify atrocities of the state, and we got schools named after Colin Powell. This type of shit, not only will we not win, we don't fucking deserve to win. I'm going to say something that I normally don't say in polite company. Extinction is better than to exist as replicas, as mimics of these psychopathic Urugu oppressors. Extinction is better. Non-existence is better than an existence where we are under what Amos Wilson calls somnambulistic possession. Somnambulistic possession is a fancy way of sleepwalking, meaning that you appear to be conscious, you appear to be in control, you appear to be a functioning specimen of humanity, but really you are possessed, and there is something else guiding your movements, and you look to be conscious and control, but you are not. That's called somnambulistic possession or somnambulistic existence. How the fuck do you have people who conceptualize and structured civilizations see it as their highest aspiration to integrate and elevate within a system that is violently inferior to the ones their ancestors created? I think Bob Marley said it first, but Sizzler said it better. We're trading a continent for an island. Well, Sizzler said, I would never trade a continent for an island, which means you have a vast, vast territory that spans the globe with all the resources and infrastructure you need, and you trade that for a little rock in the middle of nowhere that can't sustain you. Now that makes sense. But culturally, ideologically, capitalist economies, these Western democracies deeming a demonstration of crazy. Shout out to Fela. Sizzler, not Scissor. Sizzler Kalonji. Lord have his mercy. I said Sizzler. He just got his visa, so he'll be touring the States again, and I will be there. And I am prepared for your criticisms and condemnations of my fandom of Sizzler. I got cursed out by my man for my ongoing fandom of KRS-One, his mother's first son, and I know he'll never run. So anyway, KRS-One was just here in Chicago, but just like the ancestors are trying to punish me or tell me something, because I was in New York when the hip hop New York NYC Bronx Boogie Down Bronx icon was here in Chicago. So we're me and KRS-One are like, what do they call, star-crossed brothers, not lovers, star-crossed brothers, whatever. What was I saying? Oh, I'm talking about why we lose and why we don't deserve to win. Let me get back on track. We trade a continent for an island. We understand that physically, but we don't understand that in a philosophical term. We had worldviews, social theories, philosophies that created and constructed and conceptualized human interactions that determined how societies will be structured, systems of justice and law, systems of medicine and treatment, systems of gathering, refining, processing resources, and distributing, how we relate to one to the other, how we relate to other living beings on the planet, how we relate to ecosystems and structures in our environment. We conceptualized. We were the first. And instead of instilling that, instead of reinvigorating that, we simply accept what is here. This dysfunctional, your anti-human, anti-life systems. We say, hey, we'll master that. We'll recognize, accept, and master that. There is no European nation. There is no individual who can identify themselves as white that has any justified status anywhere in this fucking world. It is all through might. It is all through murder, conquest, death. And we think we can get everything everybody got and do nothing nobody did. We live under a system and we observe a system established on conquest, mass murder, mass sexual abuse, mass extinction. And we think entrepreneurial, self-sacrifice, moral aptitude, lawful behaviors will get us what the other people got. And by doing the exact opposite of what the fucking people did. We think we'll get what they got by doing everything other than what they did. And that's not even dealing with the fact that we shouldn't fucking want that. That it's fucking killing them. Show me a wealthy person that, to the extent we know, that isn't fucking deranged and miserable. Show me one. Show me a non-deranged fucking billionaire. Show me one. I was just in upstate New York. And I think, well, I know a couple of other people. I was just in a room with almost 200 people. And I think me and my cousin was in there. Me and my cousin were probably the only two people in that room that weren't worth at least $1 million. Shit. I was probably the only dude in there who has a negative personal worth. Real talk. And I was not in a space that I was like, oh, this is where I need to be. I had a homeboy who was an entrepreneur and a striver. And he used to say to me all the time, I just need to get in the room with these guys. He once told me, I just need to get in the room. If I can get in the room with Jay-Z, it's over. I just need to get in the room. He used to talk like that. And one day he posted on his socials a picture of Jay-Z, him and Jay-Z cheek to cheek. Like Jay-Z's like this and he's like that. I'm like, he fucking did it. Big things happening. He's doing some things. I'm like, that's you, player. Do you, man. Do you. Mad peculiar. So that's why we don't deserve to win. But this is why we lose. Number one, integrationism and integrationists. Integrationists have dominated Black struggles since the inception of the Ma'afa. Integration simply says our biggest problem is not the existence of the status quo. Our biggest problem is our position within the status quo. So integrationists seek to elevate us and preserve us within the status quo. Revolution seeks to subvert or upend the status quo. So Africans say we can achieve power, freedom, liberation, while not just capitalism and white hegemony, but Islam, Christianity, international trade, multinational corporations, militaries, and colonial borders can all exist. All of the byproducts of conquest and oppression can exist, and yet we can end conquest. We just redistribute some of the resources, we give some opportunities and titles to the oppressed, and we're good. I have a lot of respect for some integrationists. I have sympathy and respect for integrationists. I understand how seductive it is. My ancestors were kidnapped from the African continent and brought here and put through some of the most inhumane, sustained inhumane treatment one can imagine. We're defined as chattel, bought, sold, and traded. And my ancestors endured. And at that point, when you are literally on fire and someone's picking your pocket, your thought is, I can't really think about somebody picking my pocket, even though that's an injustice. I have to put the fucking fire out. And then after I put the fire out, I have to get the skin graft and deal with the injuries. And if somebody's talking to me about somebody in my pocket, like, okay, but there's multitude of crises. And there's only so much the human psyche can hold before it shuts down. Now, I worked in a level 1 trauma center. So I seen people with bones sticking out, their femur bones snapped. And the thing about these big, your they call it the skeletal-muscular system. Your body has this passive tension that if a bone snaps, the muscles contract, and it just, I've seen dudes, not only are they injured, I've seen a dude opened up, Somebody slashed him across the back. You can see his lungs contracting. You can see his rib cage and spinal column. Somebody cut him open. And not only are you, as an African, imagine this, you go into a racist trauma center with racist physicians, racist radiologists, racist radiographers, racist phlebotomists, racist nurses, racist orderlies. And the few black people that are there are deep-seated in anti-blackness and self-hate and self-rejection. So you come in, they're already joined. Oh, that's some dude out there treated up to no good. He deserved it. He probably got it. He probably gave as good as he got. So you're in severe pain and you're getting treated in a inhumane way that at the place of the people who are supposed to be helping you. And I've seen so many people go into the state, they call it a state of shock. And you would look at an injury where you think they would be screaming, oh, and they're just got this blank stare. Because your body and your mind can only take so much before it shuts down. And you see people coming in and out of consciousness. It is the same way with psychological trauma and generational trauma. African people come in and out of consciousness. Because you want to wake up as a black person, go get your food, go do your goddamn job, go and engage in your extracurricular activities, holler at your girl, your whatever person you're involved with, play with your kids, pet your dog, and go the fuck to bed. Who's going to wake up and go to sleep under perpetual, unrelenting, sustained attack and trauma? So a lot of our people just shut down. Some of our people say, I ain't black, I'm native. I'm chosen by God. I'm blessed and highly favored. They develop these fucking fictional identities. They sit there and say, well, we are our own worst enemy. We do this to ourselves. I'm going to get mine. It's all about me. It ain't about black. It ain't about white. It's about the green. It's about the bag. Or they unleash all of that pent-up rage, justified pent-up rage against the loved one, against their children, against the up the block, spin the block. Those are called maladaptations. Because the shit is hard to hold. This shit is impossible to hold. You say Palestine, somebody say, what a Congo? You say, fine, Congo. They say, what about Haiti? You say, fine, Haiti. They say, what about Tigray? You say, Tigray, hey, what about Indonesia? Goddamn, okay, fine. Indonesia. And then they say, what about Myanmar? Places you can't even fucking find on the map. You say, fine, Myanmar. And somebody say, what about Inglewood? South side of Chicago. South Bronx. What about Jackson? Okay, fine. Jackson, Mississippi. And they say, what about Rikers Island? What about Dannemora Penitentiary? And I'm like, fine, all people, everybody. Oh, what about the fucking whales? What about the polar bear? What about the fucking Siberian and Bengal tigers? Fine, all living things. What about microplastics? What about dioxin? What about nuclear contamination? Who can hold all that? And you say, I want to do the right thing and speak up for a cause. I want to speak up for a people and articulate a people's plight. And for every plight that you articulate, somebody's going to jump up and say, what about? Because we hustling backwards. As Ice Coon, for hitherto four. I'm naming these fools. Ice Coon, not Ice Cube. Zionist puppet Ice Coon. He says, you say, Africa, I stare at you. We ain't got it too good in America. Yeah, we ain't got it too good. But motherfucker, you took a payoff to promote anti-African propaganda. At the height of mass incarceration, you were agent of the oppressor. And I understand that. So, one way to navigate this is through radicalism. What radicalism allows you to do once you become radicalized. Now they demonize the concept of radicalization, but when you think about radicalization, they're talking about some Muslim who engaged in an online, or some white boy who internet and went down a rabbit hole looking at PewDiePie and looking at Daily Wire videos, and then he goes out and commits a racist attack or an incel attack against women or a racist attack against minorities, and you think he was radicalized. That is not radicalization. So a religious fascist, Islamofascist, Christian fascist, Zionist engaged in attack, that is not radicalism. But they want to demonize radicalism, and they call these non-radicals radicals because they don't want people to be radical. Radical means seed. It means core. It means root. A radical person looks at the core. So if I walk down the street and I see Venezuelans begging, if I see Haitians sitting out, and I observe that, a reactionary will say, these migrants coming to our country to take our jobs. But a radical says, well, hell, Venezuelans and Haitians in the streets of the United States. What is at the root of this? Well, the United States has engaged in a decades-long campaign to subvert Venezuela and has engaged in a centuries-long campaign to subvert Haiti. So these people come all the way from overseas as a result of U.S. imperialism. So if I don't like seeing people in the streets in my community in desperate situations, I can't say close the border. That's not a radical response. I can't say kick them out. That's not a radical response. I can't respond, which a lot of you so-called conscious black people of the city that I live in, the imperial, living in the Empire State of New York, got the nerve. You live in the fucking Empire State, complaining about people from who are victims of imperialism coming to the Empire State. A radical says, first of all, I have to dismantle the imperialism. I have to stand in solidarity with victims of imperialism because I'm a product of imperialism my damn self. My citizenship and my social security card does not protect me from the ravages of imperialism. So it's a class, regional, ideological conflict. So you become radicalized and you'll begin to understand. You won't say, well, we have to focus. I don't care nothing about Palestine. I support the Congo. And our people in Haiti, I care about black issues. I don't care about Haiti and the Congo. Well, I got shit in my own neighborhood. Because a radical understands all these conflicts are connected and intertwined. And there will be no freedom for your hood. There will be no freedom for Congo unless the global system of capitalism, industrial and finance capitalism and white hegemony is upended and obliterated. And radicalism also tells you the solution is not for us to get more money so that we can become further invested. The solution is not for us to elevate and become generals in the military or CEOs of their corporations or to become elected representative within their political system. Now, there are strategies and tactics that can be utilized as a result of gaining those positions, but those positions unto themselves are not solutions. That's what radicalism is. If you are not a radical, but yet you're a good person with a good heart, you will be overwhelmed and you will become shut down and you will start putting blinders on and you will start pigeonholing. This is why so many good people become reactionaries. I can't carry all that. I can't think about all that. I'll just find me one worthy cause, or I'll identify one population of worthy people and I'll pour into that. Which I'm not saying don't do. If you're like, hey, I'm going to just throw all in with the Haitians, I'm going to deal with homeless, that is good. But you have to understand that you are a component of a larger struggle and mission. We lose because our movements and our struggles are not radical. You should not waste any time with ideologies, solutions, organizations, institutions that are not radical, that don't identify the root causes and organize at some level to target the root causes. Now, saying giving immediate relief and harm reduction does not make it you illegitimate. but you just have to not oversell that. So passing out meals is a commendable act. Giving out meals to people, cooking for people, going out and sitting on the front lawn of somebody to prevent them, as a community, to prevent them, a family, from being evicted. I've participated in those acts. They are commendable, but you do not delude yourself in thinking this is the answer. This is the solution. This is a component of the struggle. This is a stepping stone. But we must go further. We must go deeper. The job of every activist should be to render themselves irrelevant, to render themselves obsolete. You know, I hear a lot of people talk about organize. I ain't gonna say no names. I'm an organizer. And they talk about who organizes more. I got a whole organization out there that's hating on me because I reached a different conclusion than they did about a phenomenon that's happened. My analysis was different. So they go run around talking about how they organize more than me. And they out organize, and I'm not a real organizer. And then there's another individual who I thought we was cool, but apparently we ain't, which is fine. We ain't all got to get along. And then I'm an organizer. And I'm like, fuck. Why are black people or oppressed people bragging about how they out-organize other oppressed people? Your fucking goal is to out-organize the oppressor. You got to out-organize Amazon, out-organize the Pentagon, out-organize the Libertarian and Republican Party. I hear so much talk and debate and arguing about and bragging about how, well, I'm a real organizer. Who's done more than me? Mad peculiar. I think every freedom fighter needs to follow Kwame Ture's edict. You don't engage in conflict with people who lack power. Because even if you defeat them, what do you gain? So anyway, that's one of the reasons we lose. We are not sufficiently radical. So if you are in an organization, if you follow a leader, if you watch those stupid ass Dr. Umar videos, Dr. Fubar, if you want to make a positive contribution to the just aspirations of people, you have to say, is this organization radical? Is this individual leader, teacher radical? Are the proposed solutions radical? Are the proposed outcomes radical? Do they identify the core issue? And do they target the core issues? And will their proposed solutions lead to an upending of the status quo? Those are questions you should ask. If somebody's talking about financial freedom, there is no fucking such thing as financial freedom. There is no such thing as financial freedom. That can tell you that is a reactionary organization. I repeat Del Jones again. We were wealthier than the people who colonized and enslaved us. I'll say it again. We were wealthier than the people who colonized and enslaved us. So if wealth was a hedge against being colonized, enslaved, Jim Crow, oppressed, then we would never be there. Africa is infinitely richer than Europe. Every resources, culture, civilization, humanity, even intellectual and scholarly cultivation. We were richer than the people who oppressed us, so a radical would never conclude that our problem is financial. The financial status of African people is a symptom. It is not the problem. If you only address symptoms of an issue and never get to the core, the root, the fundamental disease, if you only address symptoms, that will give you an illusion of a solution. It will give you temporary or transient relief, but the core problem will fester. And if you delay and you create the illusion of dealing with the problem by only addressing symptoms, you're allowing the disease to fester and spread. So there are certain things you can look for. There is no salvation. There is no curse. There is no condemnation. There is no salvation. So anyone telling you about higher powers, magical, supernatural solutions is not radical. And these are the things that are really hard for us to let go of. There are a lot of our leaders who are apocalyptic. Apocalyptic is a Western value system where there will be some divine or supernatural reckoning, that things that are happening in the world are somehow prophetic. None of that is real. And I know it's painful to let that go because your grandma, you don't want to believe that your grandma steered you wrong when she took you to the church. You don't want to believe that your beloved father steered you wrong when he dragged your ass into the masjid to bump your head on the floor. I know it. And let me tell you something. Another reason we won't win is because we want external transformation, but we're not willing to engage in internal transformation. We want a radical change in the world, but we're not willing to indulge in an internal radicalism. We want revolutionary change in the world, in the economy, in the country, in the state. We want change externally, revolutionary change externally, but we won't engage in revolutionary transformation. We claim we're ready to die we're ready to kill and die for this, but you're not willing to make a simple, logical, sound, evidence-based conclusion about reality. You're not willing to say, hey, regardless of how I feel when I hear them gospel tunes, no matter what fills my heart, when I go and stand before the shrine, or I say the incantation, or when I turn to the east and bump my head on the floor, regardless of what that tell you, there is no supernatural solution. There is no divine solution. There are no saviors. There will be no ultimate reckoning, and there's no evidence of an afterlife. And I'm not saying you can't believe what the fuck you want to believe. Believe anything, but only act on what can be known, what can be demonstrated, what can be supported. You can indulge in beliefs. You can engage in beliefs. You can enjoy your beliefs, but you act on what you know and can understand and comprehend. And I know that's hard and painful. I ain't saying you got to be atheist, but you damn well better be secular. You damn well better be secular. In your organization, in your communal engagement, in your ultimate solutions on how you intend to move forward and advance, in challenges to your enemies and oppressors. You better be secular in your approach. I'm so fucking sick of African people hacking each other to bits over alien, foreign, colonial ideologies. Now I'll leave that at that. Another reason why we lose is because we don't have any system for rewarding and supporting revolutionaries and targeting, identifying traitors. In our community, in our struggles, the race traitors get as much support and love as our freedom fighters. And that is a real problem. There's very little incentive to remain loyal. We give our most talented, most well-resourced, best educated people no incentive to remain loyal to us. Why? Now, and this is another hard one. This is another painful. I think, it's like when Philadelphia, all them black folks that marched in the streets of Philadelphia to free a political prisoner by the name of Meek Mill in the same town that incarcerated and still holds Mumia. It's like, give us Barabbas. All you religious colored folks out there, y'all don't see the iron. We literally ask for Barabbas. We have to ingrain in our culture a requirement, mandate to support our freedom fighters and condemn, isolate, and expel traitors. We have to draw a fucking line. There's no line. How the fuck can a black man go on a global media and say, I love Hitler and wear a MAGA hat? And I go in my community and black adults out here working, wearing his motherfucking shoes. I can't walk a block on the south side of Chicago without seeing a pair of fucking Yeezys. And this is base level. Jay-Z has engaged in treason at every opportunity against the interests of the black collective, but let him announce a global tour or his wife announce a global tour. And we'll go into debt to go see these people who've shown utter no loyalty or solidarity with our struggle. Internally, you won't get nothing, and externally. And I ain't saying do what other people do. When the Russians had their revolution, they lined their traitors up on the wall. Europeans, when they were engaged in global conquest and they saw you talking to the natives, getting too friendly, going native, they tar and feather you. They wouldn't just take you out. They'd take you out in such a horrendous manner as a warning to everybody. I ain't even saying do that. I'm just saying don't buy their fucking shoes or their jersey or their sneakers. Don't vote for them. Don't attend their public talks. Every prominent black figure should be like, I'm very afraid, should wake up and go to bed every thought saying, have I done anything to cross or offend my community? Have I acted against the interests of my community? And if I have I acted against the interests of my community in such a way that someone can identify and provide evidence that I have acted against the best interests of my community? Every prominent black person should wake up and go to sleep with that thought. Because to do so should be one of the consequences that is unforgivable. I'm not saying we don't show love to our freedom fighters, but that love ain't worth shit if we're also showing it to traitors. When we do that, we won't win and we don't deserve to win. We need to venerate freedom fighters. Fuck getting straight A's and going to Ivy League schools. Fuck having a business in your bag. We should not allow as a term of celebration or admiration anything that is given to or can be denied us by our oppressor. I don't give a fuck if it's a degree, a college degree, or a Grammy. I don't give a fuck what it is. If it can be given to or taken away given to us by or taken away from by our oppressor, it should not be a source of admiration from our community. The only thing we should view as a source of admiration from our community is what we bestow and what we can deny. I don't give a fuck if it's nothing more than our love and respect. If it's not a trinket, if it ain't a bag, if it's nothing more than our solidarity, if it's nothing more than our eyeballs and attention, start with that. There was a time Bobby E. Wright said in one of his lectures that he really looked up to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And he said Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was one of the bad brothers, one of the bad soul brothers who didn't take no guff from the man. And he eventually left his African woman, abandoned his militant stance, and was laid up with some white woman and said that this young white woman, half his age, taught him more in a week than he learned his whole family businesses in a year. Just went fucking on some weirdo hippie shit. And so he said whenever Kareem Abdul was on the TV, whether he was chasing a ball and endorsing a product, he'd get up and turn that shit off. I remember there was a movie where Samuel L. Jackson played this cop, like Sunset Lane. Let me see. I'm just trying to see. This movie. What's that movie? No, changing light. He's been in so many fucking movies. I'm gonna put it in Samuel L. Jackson. Racist cop. Oh, I googled Samuel L. Jackson racist cop, and the movie came up. That's the movie I'm talking about. There's this movie where Samuel L. Jackson plays a reverse racist. I don't know if y'all seen it. It's not Lane, it's Terrence. So in this movie, he plays a racist cop. And these white folks are moving into his neighborhood. And he's like, I don't like these white folks moving in my neighborhood. So he starts like harassing and preying upon this couple. Oh, it's a mixed marriage. It's a swirl couple. So he just starts fucking and stalking these people, right? Because he didn't want him in his neighborhood. It's probably one of my favorite roles I saw him play. Like, get him, Jackson, get it. What did Nas say? I watch a movie and root for the villain. Look at him creeping. I love that. And he was fighting with this white boy and his white spouse, his black spouse, right? So he's like messing with these folks, and he was pissed off, and he had his two black kids and teaching them like, I don't want that shit. Anyway, early in that movie, his son is going to school, and he walked out with a Kobe Bryant jersey on. And he stopped his son and was like, hey, son, get over here. Take off that jersey. This is what year that movie come out? So I just want to see what year it came out. Because y'all know. Jesus. I have to Google again. I'm going to put in Samuel Jackson. Racist cop. That's all I can remember as racist cop movie. Samuel Jackson. That movie came out in 2008. So y'all know what was happening in 2008 when Kobe got in trouble in Colorado and all that. And when the police were interviewing him, he went in there and was like, I don't know why I'm getting in trouble for this. Shaquille O'Neal does this all the time. And then Shaquille O'Neal, a little while later, came out and said Kobe was partially responsible for my breakup because he mentioned my name in a police interview. And police. Anyway, Samuel Jackson's character had a standard that Kobe Bryant violated. So his son walks downstairs in a Kobe Bryant jersey. And he's like, hey, son, we don't wear Kobe Bryant merch in this house. We don't take that off. Kobe's a hater. And because he's a hater, we don't do this, right? And it's that simple. It's that simple. And here's the thing that's so weird about that. There's dozens of ugly ass shoes you could wear that ain't Yeezys. But if you want some ugly ass foam, hunchback shoes, there's dozens of options. So it ain't even like you denying yourself. You ain't Gandhi. You ain't got to fast and starve. You can get all the tacky fashion shit you want. Just pick one. So all I'm saying is that is not just an action. That should be a cornerstone of our culture. Until we can have prominent Africans, whether they are political, industry, business, religious or spiritual, or public cultural leaders, saying, I could piss off anybody, any population, any demographic, but if I cross the line on the goals, values, and aspirations of African people, I'm done. If you want to have a religion, form a cult of resistance. Exposure protocol. And I'm not saying do this knee jerk. We can form councils. We can have tribunals. But if there is concrete and confirmed evidence, then without that, show me a revolution that didn't have strict internal accountability. And I don't care if it's a revolutionary guerrilla group like the Tamil Tigers, the Bolsheviks. You find me a revolution that was able to sustain, that didn't have internal accountability protocols. And I'm not saying, and that's why you have to be secular, because I'm not talking about somebody who commits the sin of the flesh or a woman don't wear the proper garment. I'm saying these are our defined goals. These are our strategies and tactics. You can either join the struggle, you can get the fuck out of the way. But if you betray the struggle, if you subvert the struggle, how can we say, well, we're trying to reunify with our homeland? We're in a struggle that is globalized. Our oppressor is globalized. They have international World Bank. It ain't American Bank. The International Monetary Fund, not the South Side or the American Monetary Fund. NATO is a multi-state. And we got motherfuckers that want to talk about Black American movements as if our oppression was ever limited to the borders of America. As if our citizenship status has ever meant a goddamn thing when somebody wanted to move against us. Our oppression and the attacks we have suffered have always been globalized. Dr. John Henry Clark said half a century ago, the only difference between a Black Panamanian, a Haitian, a Jamaican, a Black American is the boat stop. That's it. If you read Before the Mayflower or any other detailed history, if you read Eric Williams, you'll find that they were just transferring Black people across every freaking border and across territories. The Spaniards and the Portuguese and the British and the French were trading off whole shiploads of African people, using us to pay off debts, to answer the treaties. And now it was the whole musical chairs of slave trade. No visas, no passports, no documents, unless you're talking about a receipt or a bill of trade. And then when it stops, like musical chairs, wherever you are, that's your fucking identity. You're out of your fucking mind. I'm an American, because that's where the massa drop. Literally, you take and throw a dartboard by happenstance. This is not what my ancestors chose. This is not a conscious status. So why the fuck would I make my fundamental identity as that of a Black American or an African American? My fundamental identity is that of the African diaspora. That is who I am. And that's where my first thought and my first solidarity and my first agenda rests as a member of the African diaspora. And anybody, so you got organizations, a conscious people who were truly interested in freedom. There would be no ADOS, Foundational Black America. Tariq Nasheed, Tone, and Yvette would be laughing stocks. But we play around because they promising us a paycheck. Reparations means restoring people to the status they were at before the offense, to make us whole. You ain't whole. It ain't just a check. Fiat currency does not answer blood debts. So that's another reason why we lose. I'm not even halfway through the list, and it's almost time for me to wrap this up. So what I'm going to do is I'll pick this up when I come back, maybe Monday, or if I find out what happened with Skip. So we're going to take a break. We're going to bootleg us some Skip, and then we'll come back with Q&A. How that sound? Let's make it happen.
When that feces hit the oscillating rotator, pistols popping at your face. I never needed freedom papers. Faith in Christ, Rugers and armor like 15s. Allahu Akbar, John 3:16. Freedom of death and patience make us cage birds sing. I love the feeling of the power that recoil bring. I love the way my wife and mama make me pump my wings. I love hobby and round bird make me think new things. Right wrongs, right songs, and this struggle lifelong. Change all you want and you can never be long. So I stay at my own lane, mow my own lawn, and I bid y'all to do until I see dawn. Cheech and Chong serving y'all ding, ding, ding. So I'm cooking vegetables, so eat it, y'all don't. This what you need, what you want. I'm giving what you need, and they selling what you want. But it is what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is. This is what it is. The people that I'm fighting for, really who I'm beefing with. It's funny, but I can't laugh, so I done came to peace with it. These the tools I got, so these the tools that I'm working with. I'm cool and they heard of it, but they don't hear a word of it. Complaining, I'm just saying that we already behind when we stop the playing. Do we wonder what happens to kids that's jamming what we making? Or as long as it's dollars for the making, we be making money and selling ourselves. Hell, bills in the mail. Well, he's in the sale, and the stories that we tell reflect our situation, so we put it on the shelves, package it and pray that it sells. It is what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is. This is what it is.
If he can't be with us here physically, at least he's here with us spiritually. All right, tell him. And y'all can call and snitch. I'm bootlegging Skip Coon over here. Without permission, unlicensed, unsanctioned. Anyway, let's do some Q&A. If y'all got some questions, if not, I can get out of here because it's hot back here. I'm cooking. And I ain't cooking like Base God. I'm cooking like physically hot. So I want to get out of here. Anyway, let me make. I'm going to be, like I said, I'll be in Kansas City this weekend. Kansas City, Missouri, not Kansas City, Kansas. I ain't over there with that Wyandotte County trash. Village Boys, 7th Street, Monroe, Prospect. I'm going to be in Kansas City, Missouri. And me and Rip the Crip, my OG day one homie, big homie, we're going to, I'm thinking Saturday, like maybe at 10, we're going to the Lincoln Memorial to tour the National World War I Museum. So if you want to come and you're in the Kansas City area, even if you from Wyandotte County, we'll put aside our differences, and you want to tour and watch white folks engage in the first high-tech industrial mass murder orgy, and they pretend like it's some grand history, and when it's nothing but senseless mass killing, white tribal warfare, and see replicas and evidence of white folks with trench foot being eaten alive by mice as they kill other white folks for no particular reason besides their culture has a death urge. And we'll pick up why we lose, and maybe we'll be a little bit more structured next time so I can get through everything. Sometimes I just can't go off the dome. I'm not like Skip. I ain't got the lyrics. But anyway, that's it. So if you have any questions, comments, criticisms. Oh, and first let me pass the tray around, the virtual tray. Please like, share, subscribe. Help me in the algorithm. Share the Bro Diallo broadcast. Share the Rational Radicals. Share. Well, the name keeps changing. Oh, just share your Earn Your Liberation. Shout out to Skip. Shout out to Dr. Ball. Shout out to Geechee. My various co-hosts across various platforms. Please like, share, subscribe. Every African person should deem themselves a Pan-African propagandist, a Pan-African archives, to collect this information, to collect and share this insights and scholarships and analysis to further radicalize and inspire our people across all platforms and on Flesh and Blood in the community. And please, if you want to help sustain and advance our projects, you can see scrolling across the bottom of the screen right now. Please give, please support, please help sustain. It is much needed, and even more so than needed, it is for show. Enough appreciated. I'm not worthy, but I don't mean I ain't in need. So thank you ahead of time. And again, if you ain't got the material support, you can do the virtual support by like, sharing, and subscribing. So is that out the way? So now finally, we're allowed to, for questions, comments, and or criticisms. We're going to try to keep this concise to get as many people on deck as possible. So let's do it. Okay, Andy, Diallo, have you considered Twitch since you game? There's a leftist gaming Twitch streamer. There are. So I actually have thought about gaming, but I got to figure out the setup because, you know, my wife hates when I game. Either I'm wasting time or it's too violent. And so I figure out how not to have her walking by sneering. You know, if you ain't been married yet, you find out one of the first things you find in marriage is that the wives hate to see their husbands enjoy themselves. But beyond that, I have thought about that. So maybe I got to figure out where. I honestly don't even know how Twitch works. I don't know nothing about nothing. But if y'all want to watch me, I don't play as much as I used to. If you want to see me get beat down, because I kind of suck. I'm like the mediocre gamer. That would probably be the name of my Twitch stream, the mediocre gamer. But if you want to see me play games, yeah, sure. And so you ask which games. Well, I don't play a lot of games, and a lot of times I'm way behind on games. So my current game that I'm playing is I just got Mortal Kombat 1. Now, this is how, because I couldn't play Mortal Kombat 1 because, first of all, I don't pay full price for games. Fuck that shit. And number two, I didn't have the proper system. I didn't have an Xbox X or S, so I just had an Xbox One. But my son had an Xbox S. He worked one summer and saved up and got it. But now he's got a summer job and he wants to get a Nintendo Switch or something because all the kids at his school are on Nintendo and he's got an Xbox. So he didn't give it to me, but he moved his Xbox X to the family room and took the Xbox One to his room. So now I have an S. So not only can I play Mortal Kombat 1, I can also play, I'm going to play Remnant 1 and 2, but again, I'm not, but I plan on playing Remnant. But right now, the two games that I play when I have time to play is Mortal Kombat 1, and they just a few weeks ago, I don't know what it is, they had a half price, more than half price off, and then I had a online coupon, so I got that shit, you know, for like a fraction of the cost. And I've been playing Dawn of War with the Unification mod, and I'm at Unification mod 7.0. So that's my PC game, and I only play like one PC game and after the next game I want to play after Mortal Kombat is the new Space Marine. It ain't even out yet, and even when it comes out, it's probably gonna take me a year after it released before it goes on sale, and I buy it unless I can find it on like a coupon or something. And then after that, I'm gonna play Age of Empires 4. So I only play like two games. That's why I don't even know if I can Twitch stream because I don't play it. Like I'll play one game for like 2 years or two games over 4 years. So I've been playing. So, you know, I game like I look old and slow. So anyway, but I appreciate the question. And maybe we'll do some gaming shows or gaming channels because I've been gaming since, you know, the 80s, back when you had to put quarters in the damn thing. Asana, you're live on
Hi.
the Broken Hollow Show. Question, comment, criticism.
Sure. Hi, Diallo.
Hello.
I have a quick question for you. So I grew up culturally Hausa, but I am from the Dakar Kari tribe.
Mhm.
We were great warriors. We were foot soldiers for the Hausa Kingdom. I think since Sky Daddy was brought to us, things like the Boys and Girls Brigade came to existence through the church. And over time, I have seen a lot of people from my tribe get into the Nigerian military, and they have done really, really well and still continue to do well. Um, my question to you is that I feel like they more so have adopted foreign ideologies. And honestly, in the world I grew up in, we are on the losing end. Um, is it fair to say that it's going to be a very hard win for us?
Yes, absolutely. Um, Dr. Clark said that Africans are the true believers. He said two things that are relevant to your experience. He said the Africans are the true believers. So if you can convert an African to your belief system or convert an African to your cause, you have a soldier or a believer that's going to be more loyal to it than you are. Which is why Africa, there are more Catholics, more Muslims, more devout Christians on the African continent than in the nations that founded these reactionary belief systems. And right now, you have Africans studying Confucius and engaged in Asian martial arts and in Asian philosophies. I mean, the French francophone African countries have more reverence for the French language and the poetry of the French and the style of the French language than people in Paris. Africans are still wearing the powdered wigs of the colonial magistrates long after the Europeans have abandoned the wigs in their legal and judicial and political system. So we are the true believers. So um, I always have to emphasize that Black struggle is Black revolution is an intellectual and ideological endeavor, and we don't give enough attention to the intellectual and ideological components of our struggle. Because without that, even when we win, we lose. Even when we win, we lose because the ideology isn't right. And people get upset with me because they think that I'm being divisive. And they say that I should respect an African who sees Allah and has a Islamic Arabic worldview and social theories and value systems. And their very concept of reality comes out of Arab colonialism and or Christian Western dogmas. So we are losing, and it is the ideological front. The battle for the African mind is more crucial and necessary and desperate than the battle for African territory and African resources. That's number one. We are the true believers. And that's why we have to promote secularism and skepticism and critical thought and radicalism, because we think just the desire to be free, and we can be free under capitalism, we can be free under Islam. As long as we're free, it doesn't matter what we think or how we view. And that is not true. We need an African reformation. So yeah, I've encountered, in fact, my wife was just at an event with some Nigerian scholars, and one of them told her, as they were discussing Islam, he said, if you said that in my region, or if you said that in my region of Nigeria, you could get killed if you said the things you just said about Islam. And she asked the man, was anything I said about Islam incorrect according to the historical record, the Hadith, or any other thing? She was like, no, but it's still not considered respectful. And he said that with pride, not as though it was a tragedy that Africans can't speak honestly and can't even say the truth about colonial invader religion. So yeah, there's a lot of work to do. And right now, in this era, in this particular stage of the struggle is for the African mind, more so and ahead of anything else. Oh, and then he also said, Dr. Clark said, properly trained, equipped, and motivated, there is no better fighter or no greater soldier than the African. So
I
that though,
agree.
right. So imagine having the proper training, equipment, and motivation, but having the wrong ideology. And that's where we are. So the struggle is cultural, ideological, intellectual, as much as it is material and physical.
Great. Thank you very much.
So we do need a cultural revolution in on the African continent as well as among the African diaspora. And even though,
What does that look like? I'm not really sure how to go about it. I actually think you're very right.
well, the thing about it is tradition is there to sustain you. But if your tradition gets captured, corrupted, or contaminated, the very thing that helped to sustain and advance you will keep you in bondage. So there are many, when you have a cultural revolution, every social relationship, every conclusion, every view comes under examination, strict examination. Nothing gets a pass. So things we take for granted as Africans in terms of our tribes, our culture, our language, our value needs to be opened up, dissected. And if it cannot be retooled or reworked to serve an African liberation and African resistance, it has to be thrown into the ash can of history. There are so many traditions. I encounter so many brothers and sisters from the Caribbean or from the continent that are so proud of their traditions and values. They're Caribbean, they're Afro-Latino, there are various African, traditions and values, when they're actually speaking more of their colonial indoctrination, not their African tradition or their Caribbean traditions. It's more obvious here in the US amongst Africans in America, or the African diaspora that landed here, is because it's more obvious that a lot of our conclusions and views and aspirations are Western or white because of the totality of purging and separation, where it was forbidden for us to read, it was forbidden for us to play the drums, it was forbidden for us to speak our indigenous tongue. And when they put us on the auction block, they didn't sell us in large groups like they did in the Caribbean. They would sell whole shipments of slaves off to one plantation, so they were able to maintain that cohesion, where they sold us in small lots. They would sell a father, a mother, a tribe member off and be scattered into. So you got a Dinka and a Fulani working the plantation together. Whereas in the Caribbean, you would have large swaths of people from the same region, with the same language group. So that's why certain traditions that have now became known as Vodun or Santeria, but they were African religions where that was completely purged here. So it's very obvious when an African or a Black person in the US is articulating or advancing alien culture, oppressor's culture, white culture. It is less obvious because you have an African who was able to maintain many traditions, maintain African language, garbs, ceremonies. And so when you find an African who speaks Yoruba, but is a Christian, and they're from Hausa or and Muslim, we get confused and think, well, they're African. We used to have this concept, they real Africans, and we're not. And so in many ways, colonization is harder to purge than enslavement on the African continent. And many Africans from the African diaspora are literally taken aback when they go to Ghana or Nigeria and they see the mega churches, or they see the images of the blonde-haired, blue-eyed Jesus on the African continent. Because we believe that under colonization, because they were able to maintain or retain so many African aspects of their traditional African society, but don't understand that that's just a masking, and allows them to go deeper into their Western or anti-Black or anti-African indoctrination, because they do have that cover. Whereas Uncle Tom's in Europe that went to Western Europe, or Uncle Tom's in Africa, in the Americas, are so much more obvious that they're anti-Black and anti-African. So I don't know if that's clear. So in many ways, it is an asset and a strength to maintain so much of our indigenous culture for our continental Africans. But that also allows for a lot of crevices for Western indoctrination and values to creep in. And you go from Jomo Kenyatta to Mobutu Sese Seko to even, what's his name, Mugabe. These African militant men who hated the whites, who wanted to drive out the whites, but they outdid the whites in many respects in terms of their adherence to and respect and love for the colonial condition and sustaining neo-colonial conditions of Africans. And many people here in the West look at those people as heroes. Idi Amin, we look at them as heroes because we don't understand, like, oh, they freaking language, they live on the African continent, and they got the right rhetoric. So I would even say, as crazy as it is, that's why Pan-Africanism was born outside of Africa and had to be brought to Africa by Africans who were ripped from Africa centuries ago, brought Pan-Africanism back. It came from Caribbean freedom fighters and embraced in the United States. I mean, and there are many great Pan-Africanists on the continent, from Sekou Touré, Nkrumah. There are many great Pan-Africanists on the continent, but it couldn't have started there because of that the crevices that Western indoctrination was able to hide, where it's more naked here or among the African diaspora.
Thank you, Diallo. Thank you for your time.
For reaching. I hope. A lot of times when people ask me stuff, I think I create more confusion than give answers.
No, you made yourself clear. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate that, sis.
Thanks.
All right. Is that it? Is that our one and only question, comment, criticism? Oh, let me check the comments. I'm sorry. If I miss your comments, don't take it personal. Don't take it personal. Y'all listen to Quest the Mad Lad? That was an underground dude. Quest the Mad Lad. He was raunchy, but he was nice. Probably one of the best. Is he still? I used to play that album quite a bit. Quest the Mad Lad. I used to play that album when I was. When did that album come out? I love that freaking album. When did that album? I used to play that shit all the time. I used to play that shit when I was at Brooklyn College. I used to ride up and down Flatbush, all the way from Eastern Parkway to Brooklyn College. I used to ride my mountain bike through traffic. Anyway, Quest the Mad Lad. So whenever I say don't take it personal, that song comes in my mind. Oh, are you a fan of techno or house? I have a complex history with techno and house. I came because I was born in the Midwest and I was a hip hop head. That's it. I didn't even want it. When I was at the hip hop club and they used to try to slow it down towards the end of the night and they start playing R&B, and that used to annoy the shit out of me because I was strictly hip hop. So, but towards my junior, senior year in high school, I had a homeboy. Shout out to Sage Egosh, aka Randall. He started going to these rave parties, and he's like, "Dude, you got to come to the raves. The raves are the shit." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know." And so anyway, he got me to go to this one rave party, and I'm like, "This is white as fuck," but the music was cool, and there was like a cadre of like alternative blacks. That's when I first started like interacting with alternative black people. And so I started going to raves, and they would play rave music and industrial house and like that one group, Man Is Meat and all that shit. So I was listening to rave music. And then when I went off to college, I would go to a couple of house clubs. And so I was tolerant. I wouldn't say I'm a fan of techno or house. I was tolerant of techno and house. And every time I found myself at a rave or a techno or a house club playing house music, and this is the thing about New York City that I didn't know. New York City, you got the Limelight, you had the Tunnel, you had Irving Plaza, you had the Sound Factory Bar, the Buddha Bar, and SOBs, which I didn't know that these clubs had different nights. So you'd have like a reggae calypso night, you'd have like the gay night or the hip hop night or Caribbean. They'd have different nights at different clubs. So on Wednesday night, me and Gertrell would go we would go to the Sound Factory on a Wednesday night, and it's all hip hop, like 3 floors of hip hop DJs. And then we go on I go on a Friday night expecting, and then it'd be all techno and house. So I've never like sat at home. Like my wife is like a house head. She was born and raised in Chicago. She's been going to house parties, or every party's a house party. And since house music started here, she's very defensive of house music. And even I'll hear her listening to some stuff. She'll be like cleaning or doing her hair, and I'll be like, I beat that bitch with a bat. I beat that bitch with a bat. I'm like, what the fuck is she listening to? So all that to say, I've been to plenty of it, and I dance to it. I enjoy it, but I don't go to the chosen few picnic because I don't want to be perpetrator fraud. I am tolerant. I have enjoyed it. I've had a ball at various house and techno parties and clubs and raves. I've enjoyed that shit. But as a fan, no, I wouldn't sit at home. For me to be a fan of a music genre, like I could chill at home and listen to roots reggae, dance hall, hip hop, jazz, Afrobeat, Muda Baruka, poetry, spoken word. But if I can't just chill at home listening to it, or if I'm driving on a road trip, where I listen to most music when I'm doing long drives. If I can't drive, I wouldn't put on no techno. I can listen to rock music, death metal, speed metal. You know, I put on a Fishbone album, clean the house. You know, Freddy's Dead. 24/7 Spies. So no, I'm not a fan of that particular music. Gospel music, country western music, I hate. Techno music, house music, I tolerate. So I'm not a fan, but if you put it on in the club, I wouldn't leave. I wouldn't get off the dance floor. I'd still get out there. So that's an overly complex answer to a relatively simple question. What's one law you say black people should obey? Littering. The littering law. Scumbag. Let me tell you something. If I was a dictator, I would abolish prisons. I would defund the police. But let me tell you something. I'd be like, leave me one gallows. Leave me one cell. Because I'm going to stuff all the litter bugs in there. So if it's one law, if you a G, if you a gangster, you a trafficker, if you about that life, I can forgive almost any crime against the system. Now, crimes against the people, that's different. But any crime, if you want to rebel against the system, rob banks, fix elections, coup d'etats, litter bugs. I think that's one of the fucking crimes that gets me the worst. Don't fucking litter. Even if it's the white man. That's one thing that'll turn me into a snitch. There he is, boss. Get him. I hate litter bugs. So don't litter. That's the one law black people should obey. Don't fucking litter. Now, if you got a banana peel or apple core and you throw that in a field to biodegrade, that's fine. But other than that, fucking stop fucking littering. Hate that shit. That's the one thing, man, I'm telling you. If I was the dictator of an anarchist country, I would hold back. I'd keep a secret cache of weapons and stormtroopers. And we go out and take out the litter bugs. I guess that's it. We're going to wrap this up early tonight because y'all ain't coming in. I shared the link. Colorism. Let me tell y'all something. I got to tell y'all something. I don't really know if I can speak on colorism. I hate to sound, because I know how you ever run into them Negroes that was like, well, I've never been experienced racism. Or run into one of them Negroes that's like, every interaction I've ever had with the police has been fine. I'm kind of like that. Like one time I can't talk about my past. I don't know if she's listening. But let me tell you, I was dating this sister. I don't know. If y'all met my wife, y'all know I got a what they call, I got a type. I got a preference. I got a fetish. Just call it that. I ain't even ashamed. I like tall sisters, right? My wife is 6'2". So I got a thing for tall sisters. But don't tell her that. She's the only woman I've ever looked at. But other than that, I was dating this sister from Guyana. She was like 6'1". I ain't gonna say her name. But she was white, but we were very much unalike. Like she would eat meat and cheese, and she would drink alcohol and smoke weed, and I didn't do none of that. I didn't eat meat and cheese. I didn't drink. I didn't smoke weed. But she was home. She was like a homie. Like she would come hang out with me and Rich, and her and Rich would smoke weed, and I would sit there condemning them smoking weed. She's just a really fun girl. So we weren't really in a committed relationship, but we messed around. We was talking, or whatever the terminology, just messing around like friends with benefits. Okay. And one day we was hanging out and doing something, and I pissed her off really bad. And I don't know if you've been around Guyanese. They have their own curse words, skunt, and carry a skunt. And so she's like, oh, you slack, I can't stay. And she's going off on me. And I'm laughing because I'm like, chill, like it's not that big a deal, whatever we was fighting about. And she looked me dead in my eyes and she was like, you need to really get over yourself. Because normally I don't date guys as dark as you. I don't mess with dudes as dark as you are. So she's basically like, you're in a very privileged position. I'm making an exception for you and you're ruining it. So you don't know what a fragile position you are being so dark. Because I don't normally mess with dudes as dark as you. And she's right, because I met her baby, like years later, I met her baby daddy. And he was like, I don't know if he was Indian or Latino, but he definitely was much pale skin, like very pale. And I was like, whoa. I'm like, word? I'm like, are you serious? Like, it was funny to me because that was like my first experience, like my first personal experience directly with colorism. You know, my parents were probably the two worst parents in the world: drugs, incarceration, and abandonment. But one thing they always like, your nappy hair and your black skin is a privilege. It is a privilege to be African, and your hair, and you should be thankful how nappy your hair is. And the only issue you should have about being black is that you're not black enough. So I never really had a fixation and looked up to people that are light bright, and I never looked down on black. And so I always saw the kaleidoscope of African skin tones as a good thing. So I didn't have issue with light-skinned people. I didn't have issues with dark-skinned people, even though I had a favoritism and a greater attraction to darker hue and the kinky hair. That was my attraction, but I don't think you could find a light-skinned black person who could say Bro Diallo treated you some type of way because you was. So even though, like, colorism. So but who knows? It might be so deep I don't even recognize it. I don't recognize it. What hair? Boy, I should put up some of my pictures when I had my locks, my dready dreads, my fake Rasta days. I had locks when I met my wife, and I made sure I married her before it went away. So now she's stuck. I got her a contract. She's like, I didn't marry no bald head hoe. I'm like, yeah, but I got the paperwork. You can't go nowhere. So that's what I'm telling you, brothers. Hurry up and get married before you lose your hair. I don't care if it's faded. You got the waves. You got the locks. Just trap a woman. You know, a marriage contract, couple of kids. She ain't gonna never leave you. She will, don't. You're like, baby, Diallo said you wouldn't leave. We got kids in the contract. A woman will leave the shit out of you. It don't matter. But anyway, all I'm saying is, I don't know. Maybe I'll bring some other people on to talk about colorism. It's such an easy problem to deal with. I realize that colorism exists. I realize there are some people suffer their lives and their childhoods dealing with it. So I'm not even going to make light of it. It's a real thing. I see it. I watch the Cosby Show, and it blows my mind every time the two older kids come on the screen. Like, this makes no sense. So I'm willing to do a show on colorism. I might have to bring some people on. Because that shit, I watch folks go through some things. It's like, for what? I understand why, though. I ain't going to play ignorant. I'm just saying I've been blessed and highly favored in the area of not having to endure that or suffer that myself. And whenever I run into black people who get caught up in that bullshit, I'm just perplexed. Like, for all the problems we have, that's like, to me, colorism is like one of those problems you damn near volunteer for. But anyway, if y'all want to talk about it, we can talk about it. I don't know. I mean, just get your shit together. Like what did the late great Dick Gregory say? Get in the corner and check your shit out. Get in your corner and pull your shit together. God damn it. Anyway, thank you for listening. It's 9:01, so we're going to wrap this up. Like, share, subscribe. I passed around the digital collection plate. I sure hope y'all, if the spirit, if the ancestors so move you, please help out. And this shit is real. I mean, support is drying up. Was it something I said? Well, I ain't going to change what I said. So if support dries up because folks don't like what I said, and I know I'm collecting some detractors. I see you out there. I don't comment. I don't go back and forth with you. I said what I said. I say what I said. So, but for the few people who still support me, y'all got to step up because my detractors is working hard. Okay, last question. How do you propose we black folks hold class traders accountable when 95% of black folks want to elevate under capitalism and be rich themselves? I just gave you specific examples. Whatever resources you offer them, withdraw. If that resource is nothing more than your attention, turn your back. And I tell people all the time, don't play Kanye around me. You won't hear Kanye in my house and things like that. Don't bring Obama. Don't bring up Obama around me. So that's all. Just stand your ground and people will respect it. And here's the thing about taking a position that's not popular. If you conduct yourself properly in other respects, people are more likely to respect you even when they don't disagree with you. A lot of people be on some bullshit and then they want to take a principled stand and people be like, oh, to hell with you. So all you do is withdraw whatever it is. And let me tell you something, your attention turning away. And they watch this shit. These fucking psychopathic ass narcissistic motherfuckers watch it. When they lose 3% of their social media following, or they don't sell as many shoes or whatever alcohol they're endorsing doesn't meet its prospects, that fucking shit hits them. Let me tell you something. So it starts with you. Start where you are, work with what you got. And then beyond that, when 95% of black people then take, if you are dealing with 0.000% of that 95%, you need to engage and educate them about capitalism. Teach them, tell them you can't win, you can't make it. You're not going to become, you're going to die in the class you were born into. So it is better to uplift the class. That is the purpose. Share with them the Bro Diallo show. That's why I say every single black individual should be a self-appointed Pan-African archivist and propagandist. You have to educate the 95%. If we can be indoctrinated into capitalism and Christianity and Islam and the Republican and Democratic, if we can be indoctrinated into it, we can be indoctrinated out of it. But you come from a place of love. You come from a place of sincerity. You live out the ideology. See you acting, even when they don't agree with you, they will have a level of respect for you, and with that level of respect will come influence, and that is the seed, that is the mustard seed of faith that you need to grow. So each one teach one. Shout out to Poor Righteous Teachers. That's a beautiful song. Each one teach one. Y'all should go play that when we're done. Yeah, it is a fight. They don't call it a struggle just because that's a pretty word. They call it a struggle because it is indeed intellectual, ideological, emotional, and physical struggle. That's what the fight is all about. Anyway, that's it. I ain't gonna make a lie out of myself. That's it. I'm signing off. I will see y'all the first Rational Radicals will be back the first Wednesday in July. Again, look for Rational Radicals live in Jackson, Mississippi. It will be a joint venture. Earn Your Liberation, Rational Radicals, and the Skip Coon latest album release in Mississippi. More to come on that. I will share all the information, details, and be asking y'all to help support with that in the when I get back from Kansas City. And again, if you're in Kansas City or the Kansas City surrounding metro area, please holler at your boy. We're going to be at the National World War I Museum doing a tour, and we're going to have a somber and respectful attitude as we walk through the monument commemorating the first global scale industrial European murder orgy. And with that, I bid you adieu, peace, and I'll see y'all next week. Peace. Why ain't the thing playing? Oh, it is playing. Good night, y'all. Stay hydrated. Hydrate. Drink, take it to your head. And more bottled water. Get you on the filter. Place. Tap on the stay hydrated. Drink water. Night. Stay hydrated. Y'all taking light. Take the necessary protection. Continue to worship.